I'm a huge fan of Resident Evil. I adore the old games, the new ones, and even tolerate 6. Point is, I love the series, and my personal favorite has always been Resident Evil 7, since I picked up the game a couple years ago. I went into that shit completely blind and came out pleasantly surprised. It's easily one of my favorite horror games of all time. I'll definitely make a more in-depth video about it eventually, but that's not the main focus for today, because today I'm going to be talking about a game I anticipated for fucking years now. Resident Evil 8, or Resident Evil Village, whatever the fuck it's called. For simplicity, I'll just call it Resident Evil 8. I went in fully expecting not to like this game nearly as much as the last one, and the question of the day is Resident Evil 8 as good as 7? To be honest, these games are on like the same level for me. I guess I'll just go over exactly how I feel at the end of the video. But we have an entire game to talk about before we can get to that, so strap the fuck in, folks. Before I talk about the stuff I actually liked, I first want to discuss the bad stuff, because I'm of firm belief that there's no such thing as a perfect Resident Evil game. All these games have bad shit, even the best ones, and I haven't seen the bad shit present itself this clear since, I don't know, Resident Evil fucking 6. So let's get started because I have a lot of complaints. When I first heard werewolves were in this game, I was kinda put off because werewolves are fucking stupid. The day a werewolf scares me is the day they make a good Resident Evil movie. It's just never gonna happen. When I first watched the trailer for this game and saw these assholes, my first thought was, these guys are not gonna be fun to fight at all. And I was right, they suck. When fighting these fuckers, I never felt afraid even once. They more act as a nuisance than anything. I would say these guys are on the same level as the mold monsters from the last game, but let's be real. I'd rather fight 15,000 mold monsters than fight another goddamn werewolf. These guys are the main focus of the game's opening, and they really drag it down. And trust me, there wasn't much to drag down because this is one of the worst openings in the series so far. All you do is walk around a boring ass village fighting werewolves and meeting new assholes every 2 seconds, who then immediately die. Compare this to the opening of Resident Evil 7, because you'll notice a difference immediately. The opening of Resident Evil 7 is slow, it takes its time to build up tension before the crazy shit happens. This one just kinda drops you in with a long ass survival scene that isn't scary and more humorous than anything. These fuckers just seem awkward, like they're always hesitant to attack you or something. Honestly, this opening really put me off, and it made me think this game was gonna suck. But no, it actually gets good. The game doesn't really pick up until Ethan gets captured by the villains. You have this fun ass chase scene, and then you get thrown directly into the part of the game everybody was waiting for, Lady D's castle.
Let's take a look at him. Wow. Well, Ethan Winter.
This segment is fucking great. It reminded me why I love the 7th game so much. Before we can talk about how good it is, let's first talk about Lady D herself, because people have been busting fat nuts over her since before the game even came out. Like, the scene of her sucking Ethan's blood went viral on Twitter. This character is going to be the sexual awakening for most people in the worst way possible. I never really understood the hype because she's fucking scary. Fuck 8-foot tall people. All my homies hate 8-foot tall people. A lot of people saying they actually want her to step on them. First of all, do you know how bad that would fucking hurt? I guess I'm not an expert because I've never been fucking stepped on, especially not by a fucking 8-foot tall person. But my god, that would suck. I get it, alright, people just like to be dominated. This I can slightly understand, I've said too much. The point is, why do y'all like this shit? If you're into this, stay the hell away from me. But I like her character a lot, and she's definitely one of the highlights of my experience. Being stalked by a tall invincible enemy in a large environment is fucking scary, and Capcom knows this. Hence why they have it in every single game. Another thing I wasn't expecting to like as much was Lady D's daughters. These joker-faced motherfuckers are actually pretty scary at first. I say at first because as soon as you realize how to kill them, they become infinitely less scary. If I knew all I had to do was open the goddamn curtains, I would have saved so much ammo. These witches move around in like swarms of bugs, which is great. I totally wanted more bugs in this fucking series. At least they aren't coming out of someone's cooter though. But witches aren't the only thing you face off against in this segment. You also fight these lame ass, dumb ass, stupid fucking Dark Souls ass villains who, similar to the werewolves, just serve as a distraction from the cool villains. But they don't take away from the overall quality of this segment because it's honestly so good. The entire game could have taken place here, and it ends with one of the coolest boss fights in the series. Resident Evil has no shortage of dope ass boss fights, so when I say this one is good, you know I'm telling the truth. Lady D transforms into a giant fucking dragon and you fight her on top of the castle. This is the kind of shit I want more of. In moderation, of course. I don't want another Resident Evil 6, goddammit. So after killing Lady D, I was honestly worried the game wouldn't be able to maintain the interest moving forward. But I was once again pleasantly surprised with what came next. The next part is called the Dollhouse, where this little bitch torment users have to solve puzzles surrounding Mia. None of this would stand out as special to me. I mean, it is a Resident Evil game, you solve puzzles, that's a given. But the game completely strips your weapons away, leaving you completely defenseless. And if you know me, you know that's my shit. This entire segment feels like it's building to something, and when that something is finally revealed, It's fucking terrifying. All you can do is hide from this monster, and it was really effective because I wasn't scared of losing my progress, I was scared of the monster itself. It reminded me of the Evil Within's 2 Obscura in the best way possible. And after this fucking terrible shit ends, you fight a quick but interesting boss fight where you play hide and seek with a puppet and then stabbed him to death with scissors. And then you return to the disappointing village once again. And I can't stress enough that the worst part of Resident Evil Village is the village itself. The game would throw me into these unique areas where I get to fight some cool new enemies and take on some big ass boss or something, and then it would just take me back to the boring ass village once again. And is it just me, or is anyone else tired of villages in horror games? For Christ's sake, we had a village environment only 4 mainline installments ago. The next segment of the game completely ruins the praise I gave the last 2. You go into this new area of the village, and it actually starts out strong by you getting attacked by a giant ass wolf. I really liked this bit. You had to sneak past this big fucker until you reach the grenade launcher at the end. But what comes next sucks. You go into this fucking swamp and meet this hunchback motherfucker. The only reason you have to fight him is because Ethan was stupid enough to engage with him, rather than just leave. And what follows is a stupid ass chase scene, where this motherfucker turns into a giant goddamn fish. I come to Resident Evil for shit like this, not for a remake of the old King Kong game. So you fight this dude, and his fight is as disappointing as the entire level, and he dies without any effort from the player. Whatever. The next segment of the game is entirely centered around this telekinetic motherfucker, as you explore his factory and fight villains that look straight out of that one episode of Invincible. And I haven't been paying too much attention to the community, but I feel like this is something that they wouldn't like. But I actually really enjoyed this part, and it's all due to the variety of enemies that they provide. From the drill hands to the fucking Iron Mans, it was really cool. And this segment ends with this bizarre Transformers ass shit, where you have to fight a giant man made of various metals, in the Machine of Death as I appropriately named it. This fight was my least favorite of the bunch. This was so incredibly over the top that I got flashbacks to Resident Evil 6. I don't want flashbacks to that fucking game. So you kill the boss, and then Ethan gets his heart ripped out of his fucking chest, but it's okay because he's not dead. You know why? Because he was actually murdered in Resident Evil 7, and was brought back as a molded by Evelyn. This is weird, but it actually does make sense. One thing I was gonna meme on in this video was how Ethan is basically invincible, and I would be more afraid to go up against him than any of the Resident Evil villains. But they took that away from me by actually explaining this plot hole, or filling the plot hole, I guess. In fact, this conclusion eliminates most of the jokes I was gonna make, like how Mia gets fucking murked by Chris Boulder Biceps Redfield at the beginning of the game, and Ethan's reaction was,
What? Why?
I mean, it doesn't change the fact that his reaction was really fucking weird, but hey, at least it didn't actually kill Mia's character this way. So this game ends with Chris and his men raiding the village and absolutely slaughtering all the stupid ass werewolves, and then they save Mia. Whilst all that is happening, we find out Ethan is dying, but very slowly. And he engaged in a fight with Mother Miranda, who I could care less about, honestly. The reason the final boss of 7 was so good was because Evelyn was a developed character, but Mother Miranda on the other hand had like 2 quick cutscenes and then she dies. So I'm really not feeling that. But hey, at least her fight was actually pretty good. So Ethan rescues his daughter Rose, and oh yeah, I forgot to mention that Rose even exists. It's because I kind of forgot that she existed. And we send off his character by watching him sacrifice himself to save the day. I think this was a good choice. I really like Ethan as a protagonist, but his character arc could easily become repetitive, like it almost does in this game. And his death gives us room to focus on his daughter in the next game. So that's pretty cool, I guess. So the game ends, so does Ethan's story. I know I ragged pretty hard on the game, but I actually really like it. It's kind of hard to fully express my opinions on it though, because I don't really view this one as a standalone experience like I do 7. You can't play Resident Evil 8 without first playing 7. This game doesn't feel like a full sequel like we've seen many times in the series, but a second chapter, if that makes any sense. But as far as the game itself goes, I slightly prefer it to the last one, and I definitely see myself returning to it in the future. And I would just end the video here, but I know all some people care about our number ratings, so as a collective story, I give the Ethan Winter Saga a 9 out of 10. It's a really great experience beginning to end, but if I had to rate them separately, I say Resident Evil 7 is an 8 out of 10, and Resident Evil 8 is an 8.5 out of 10. Because I guess we're doing half scores now. Okay, bye!